Going on, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Dual Hemisphere Hangout. I'm one of your hosts, Luke, and join with me every single week. I have my lovely co-host, Jake. Jake, say hello to the people, my man.
Hello, everyone. Hello. We've been waiting for this one for a while.
Yeah,
This has been cooking
very
for
much.
the longest time, and
Yeah,
it's happened, and things
it's
have
here.
happened, and
Yes.
for the most part, I'm happy. I guess I know a lot of
Yeah,
people are not happy, uh,
yeah.
but we'll
I
break into it. What are we discussing
yeah.
today, Luke?
eh. Well, I mean, we're discussing everything Switch 2. So if you've been living under a rock in the gaming world, the Switch 2 Direct came out on Tuesday or Wednesday. I think it was
Yep.
Tuesday, I think. And it pretty much revealed everything about the Switch 2. So, revealed the system, the console is going to look like, games coming on it, the release date, pre-order. Like literally gave us everything all that information that we wanted. We got it from this Direct. So, yeah, this episode we're really just going to dive into the Switch 2. We're going to talk about the Direct, some of the games, the systems itself, price point. I mean, pretty much everything Switch 2 we're gonna cover. We might throw in some wish list ideas and games that we're excited to see coming. But I mean, honestly, Jake, I guess the best way to start with it is before we dive into like very opinion based thing, how did you feel as a viewer watching the direct? I You watched it live. I was unfortunately had to watch it afterwards.
Yeah, I was
How were
I was
you
very
during the
beneficial
direct?
in Australia. The time zones were very kind to me because it was I think it was at 9 or 10 p.m. at night. So it's like the
Yeah.
perfect time. Um,
Mhm.
it's the very first direct that I've not like tried to do content for, or I just sat there with a couple of beers. And honestly, I was engaged like all the way through the direct. I was loving it, absolutely loving it. Right down to I don't know if they corrected this in the video that they uploaded, but the stream was like glitching out all the way through.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that this multi-billion-dollar company is like the stream is just collapsing in front of them when
Yeah.
it is all just pre-recorded. It's not live.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but no, it, it hit every mark. I think
Okay.
I've watched a lot of reactions over the past coming like days, and now the dust has settled. Everyone had similar reactions of. I think there was something for everyone in this direct.
Yeah.
So I mean, hats off to Nintendo for
Yeah.
giving us probably a lot to go with. I think we've been starved recently with Xbox and PlayStation. Like I've seen some comparisons of like launch titles and stuff, and I think the PS5 just launched with Astro's Playworld and a remastered PS4 game. That like
Yeah. I believe so. I think that came out. I think God of War Ragnarok was also a launch, or it came out relatively early on in
shortly
this.
after, yeah.
This yeah, very quickly after the PS5 launch.
Um,
Yeah, no, I was gonna say like you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think everyone that watched this direct that is a fan of Nintendo, a fan of gaming in general, um, were very, very happy and thrilled and excited. And then we'll talk about probably the biggest discourse of it all a little bit later on, but I don't want to get into the discourse part. I want to really just dive into the Switch 2 in general because me as a consumer, as a person who loves Nintendo, who loves the Switch itself, I was absolutely blown away with what they showed. I mean, they gave us everything. The Switch 2 is honestly a really, really, really cool system. It improves on everything that the Switch was without breaking the wheel. It's not a thing. I saw some people comparing like, oh, it's gonna be like the Wii. Is like it's gonna be nothing like the Wii U in the sense that it literally is just the Switch but better,
yeah,
and stronger and more powerful on the spec sides of things. And I was really excited. I'm really excited about the way it handles. I like the screen size of it. I was a little I'm still a little disappointed that it's not OLED screen. It's still an what is it, LCD screen,
LCD,
I think, I
yeah,
guess. Yeah. But I was looking at the comparison from the Switch to the Switch 2 that they were showing, and I mean, yeah, it's still an LCD screen, but it still looks really, really good. And then
yeah.
someone compared it to the OLED screen and the LCD screen, and honestly, it's not that much of a
OLEDs just give
noticeable
you
difference.
more vibrant colors.
Yeah.
Like LCDs are a bit washed. The
Mhm.
OLED just performs better in terms of deeper
Mhm.
blacks and brighter reds and greens
Yeah.
and blues.
Mhm.
Because that's all pixels are, red, green, and blue. Um,
Yeah.
so if I was to sacrifice anything, it would
Mhm.
have been the screen.
Yeah.
Like obviously not resolution, because I think
Mhm.
people confuse LCD and OLED with having higher resolutions. It's not. It's just color profiles.
Yeah,
Um,
it's quality.
and
Picture
like
quality.
1080p
Mhm.
is was our biggest ask.
Yeah.
By Joe, we got it. We definitely got
Yeah.
it. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
it's a console for the
Mhm.
dockers. The
Yeah.
original Switch, this bad boy was made for the backpack. The screen, the
Mhm.
one we got now, is made for the home gaming.
Yeah.
Everything I asked for in our
Mhm.
previous one where we were doing the wish list for the Switch 2 came true. It's got up to
Yeah.
4K support, docked
Mhm.
at like 4K,
Yeah.
120 FPS.
Mhm.
I didn't. I just asked for 60, like
Yeah.
120 FPS, and you could see it on the stream as well. And I've seen it in some.
Mhm.
They had like the tech reviewers of the iJustines, Casey Neistat,
Yeah.
MKHB. You could see it in person how
Yeah, yeah.
smooth the gameplay is compared to
Mhm.
like the original Switch on 30 FPS.
Mhm.
That being
Yeah,
said,
yeah.
as well, some things I've really enjoyed when I've looked at like the deep dive of what they offer
Mhm.
2K support as well, so you don't have to
Okay.
run it in 4K if you don't want. If you don't have a 4K monitor, there's no point running it in 4K, so you can run it in upscaled 1080p, upscaled 2K,
Okay.
and that will probably get you a bit of better performance in terms of like 60 FPS. And I imagine it's going to run the same way as the PlayStation does, where you have a performance mode, which is 1080p, 120 FPS, or you could play in 4K. It'll be 2K 60 and 4K 30,
Mhm.
I believe.
Yeah.
They'll probably run with. Um, I saw a lot of people slating the battery life because
Yeah.
I think they made a mistake on the website. They didn't update the battery life, so it said up to
Mhm.
22 hours,
Oh my
and then
goodness.
it changed to 2 hours to 6.5 hours, and
Yeah.
I think people are slating it a bit too much. The original Switch without the improved battery life was 2 to 6.5 hours. Like,
Yeah.
that was
No.
the original
Yeah.
Switch. And, you've got the Steam Deck stands, but I have a Steam Deck. It's a fantastic console. That thing only lasts 2 to 3 hours. If I'm playing
Mhm.
Pokemon or something, if I'm emulating, oh my god,
Yeah.
Nintendo, don't come at me. If I'm emulating, it will last longer, but it
Yeah.
still won't last over 6. So I don't see the issue here. Like,
Mhm.
Nintendo have made a Nintendo Switch, Nintendo Steam Deck, and
Yeah.
6 hours is plenty. You're gonna carry a battery bank. Everyone's got a battery bank now. You wanna charge your phone 8 times. You can charge your
Yeah.
laptops, like, 2 times.
Mhm.
It's gonna charge your Switch 4 times. It's not a big issue.
Yeah. I feel so. I will say, like, out of everything that I saw, I think my biggest contention as a consumer is with the battery life. Only because I can only imagine it says 2 to 6 hours. I'm gonna be real. You're not gonna be getting 6 hours on any type of high quality game.
No.
I'm assuming like all the Switch 2 games that we got, like your Metroid Prime 4s, your Donkey Kongs, your Mario Kart 9s, your Elden Ring, or whatever. We'll talk about some of the other games that were announced in a second. Those you're probably going to get 2 to 3 hours on if you're running it on the highest resolution on
Yeah.
the handheld. You just are. You just are. And I think that's a little disappointing. And I will say to those who are pre-ordering and doing all that stuff, if you're not 100% sold on it, wait like 6 months because Christmas time's going to come around and they're going to have a new model was going to have improved battery life. It's the same thing that happened with the original Switch,
Yeah.
where it was now instead of like the 2 hours of the low end, it was more like 4 to 8 hours, which I think is doable for most. But that being said, who knows? But like Jake said, honestly, it's not the end of the world for most people because again, you have your battery packs, you can charge it. I just will recommend that if you plan on playing Cyberpunk 2077
Yeah.
handheld, just just be prepared that you're gonna be only able to play 2 hours on the toilet. So make sure you have that battery pack with you.
I mean,
Um,
there will be some like third-party cases as well. The Steam Deck does have
yeah,
these where it has internal cooling, which also helps performance, but also helps battery life because the battery life is determined by heat output. Really, the hotter the device runs, the quicker your battery dies. It's not really
yeah,
down to performance. Um, it is as such, but usually it's the thermals that dictate how fast your battery goes down and how long it actually lives. So there will be third party because we've seen how the
yeah.
dock actually works. We should talk about the dock and that it has an inbuilt-in fan. So that's
Hmm.
cooling the Switch. So I imagine
Yeah.
someone, a third party, will emulate that, build another battery pack and a small fan um,
Hmm.
into a hard dock case. So you can run around and because I think they must have had these internal conversations of saying like,
Oh yeah.
if we want to give them 8 hours, it's gonna be a chunky console. It's gonna be thick. And then at that point, you're compromising the grip. Like, the whole point of it being handheld is you're compromising the
Yeah.
grip. Um, that being said, I I I think they've made the right decision in keeping it the same form factor.
Mhm.
I think it's the same thickness, and
Yeah.
the Switch is not thick. I'm just looking at mine now. It's like
Yeah.
a centimeter and a half at most. Um,
Yeah. No, mine's
it's
trying to
It
grab my.
yeah, it's I need it for reference because it's super mine's dead at the moment. Um, it hasn't been
Mine's
on in months,
charging.
which is probably why I didn't get my pre-order email.
Yeah, mine
It
is
went on it went on playtime. Mine
yeah, I think mine I think the OLED's a little bit. Yeah, do you have an OLED? I don't remember. You don't have
No,
an
Rachel
OLED, do
does
you?
have an OLED though, and they are very
Yeah.
similar.
Yeah, they're
I
like I think
skipped
mine's
the
a
OLED,
slight thinner.
so that's why I did lucky enough at the moment I have 2 pre-orders.
Hey.
Um, because Australia is we win because of population density, right? The
Yeah.
Nintendo will ship a lot to Australia because it's near Taiwan because they've made them in Taiwan this time, instead of Japan. Uh, so we're not going to deal with population density. I have the issue I have is that it releases and I'm in the UK and post offices here
No.
only hold your parcel for 10 business days. And I think
Oof.
it'll be close, but I'll be able to pick it up. If not, it gets returned back to sender. And then I don't know what
Mhm.
happens after that. Um, but I tried to get them in the UK. Every single pre-order has sold out within 5 minutes.
Yeah. No, it's
So I feel entirely blessed that I have 2, and
yeah.
I got them 7 hours after the
Mhm.
links went live.
Yeah.
That's the
No,
difference in
that's
Australia. Like no one's that
no.
interested, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's good though. You got your switches, which is good. But yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely like everything that I saw about the Switch 2, like from a hardware standpoint, it checked all my boxes. You know, good. I like all the battery life is a little knock for me. It's not the end of the world, but the fact that the screens are good, the FPS is good. It feels literally like a modern console that I could just take on the go, which has been the lure for me for the Switch. And the one thing I've been knocking, at least recently, on my Switch OLED is like, yes, I have games like Pokemon and other games you can play handle, but man, I would really love to play like my Assassin's Creed Shadows on the go, or I'd love to be able to take my higher AAA game, like say if I was in Elden Ring, in the couch, and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and be able to like grind levels and stuff like that, and not have to be situated in the another room. Which so I've always been a big proponent of the handheldness of the Switch, and the fact that they knocked that out of the park, I could not be happier from a hardware standpoint. And then obviously docked. I'm not a super big docked guy with my Switch. I will play specific games like your Breath of the Wilds. I still have a very, very hard time playing Pokemon docked. I only ever played Pokemon docked when I was streaming. Outside of that, I always had a handheld. Because that's just I don't know, it just feels weird for some reason. And yeah, so yeah, I'm really excited from as a undocked gamer on the Go gamer. I really am very happy with the Switch too, and definitely I'm excited from the hardware perspective. But I feel like a good talking point, which was a lot of people, everyone knew we were going to get the hardware stuff, but the games, what's coming with launch, what's going on, and I must say, they definitely put their money where their mouth is. They have some really, really cool games coming to the Switch 2, that are going to be Switch 2 exclusives to kind of really boost that in order to get those games sold. Obviously, the first one that we saw, even during the very preview earlier this year, we saw what looked to be Mario Kart 9. Turns out that is not what it is. It's Mario Kart, but it's Mario Kart World, an open world racing Mario Kart, which is bonkers to me. And I'm
I
like,
mean, I
I'm
guess.
with it. I'm with it. Like I'm gonna play it. I'm gonna probably get it. Probably when pre-orders go live in the US, I may get the bundle with the game with that game with it. But like, yeah, they launched that, and I was like, that's cool. New Mario Kart. I mean, we've been playing Kart 8 since God 10 years. It feels like,
Yep.
which is really awesome. Then obviously they had the welcome tour game, which I think is stupid. I think that's dumb. I think it's stupid that they're
Yeah.
charging
They
money for that.
they
That
missed
should be a
so
free.
hard with that.
That should be a free demo thing, like Astro's Playroom was for the PS5. That should not
Yeah.
cost money to play. I don't know why they would do that because no one's gonna give a fuck about that. I think, and then a couple ones that people were really excited about that I saw. Donkey Kong Bonanza, first Donkey Kong game coming out since I believe the last one was Tropical Freeze, which came out on the Wii U back in like 2013. So again, good 12
They
years
put
since a
they
brand
put big
new.
emphasis on that as well, right? Because that
Yeah,
got the closer, right? They
yeah, they
closed on
got the
Donkey Kong.
closer. They closed on Donkey Kong, and I guess that's really cool because usually those games are very much centered around our big guys. And I'm not gonna lie, I was expecting to see a Mario game,
I
or
was
I thought they were
expected to
gonna
see
close the
ZA.
show.
I was
Yeah,
expected to see ZA there. Because
yeah, I was.
they kind of gave us a mini trailer midway through, and I was like,
Mhm.
that's not enough.
Yeah,
Like, that I'm not saying that Nintendo's been carried by Pokemon recently, but it's the only release that has really
mhm.
been in the spotlight, and
Yeah,
we haven't seen much of it in terms of like new megas or new
mhm.
content. We've seen the map and a
Yeah.
couple of map areas and how the mechanics work, but I was expecting that to get the closer, like big boy, like drop the
Yeah,
megas.
I think the only reason why is that we talked about before. I really don't think Pokemon's super sold on if the Switch 2 is going to sell enough. So I think they're saving that for their own thing, right off the bat because they're not gonna. Like I said, the games are already coming to the Switch. They already announced I guess Switch 2 enhanced games, and ZA is one of those titles that's going to get an
Yep.
enhanced one. And I will
So I
say
was right.
ZA.
We were
Yeah, you
both
were right.
right. It got an
You're,
exclusive, but it also got another exclusive. It got a Switch One
yeah, they're
exclusive and a Switch Two
yeah.
exclusive.
They're getting the territory of what I hate with the Sony games, where we're gonna get HD remasters of
Yeah,
games, which I'm like, whatever, fuck that. But yeah. So I wasn't surprised there, but I was surprised. I was definitely expecting like a Mario, a Zelda, something like a teaser to close it out, and they didn't give that. So they gave us Donkey Kong, which again shows them that they have faith in Donkey Kong, and that will be definitely a system seller, even though it's not going to be a launch title. It's going to be coming out about a month after launch, so that's going to be their main one. Um, Definitely another one I saw. We got Kirby Air Riders as well. I'm not sure if you ever played on the GameCube, but Kirby Air Riders was the shit. So people are very, very excited that we're getting a new Kirby game, which is Kirby Air Riders game. Definitely got Duskborn. I guess we can touch on that. A FromSoft game, which is going to be exclusive to the Switch 2, which is really, really exciting for those who want to play their Dark Souls or Elden Rings on the go. It doesn't look like it's going to be nearly as graphically intense necessarily as some of the other ones, because again, I think it's going to be like Dark Souls on the go esque kind of game. They're really going to be pushing that handheld thing, but it's a FromSoft game. That I gotta say those we'll have to say those Joy Cons better be sturdy because I can already imagine a lot of Switch
the
2s might be
rage.
getting chucked. A lot of strong grips because you're like trying to like grab it. I mean, like literally just like trying to go like
This,
just getting mad.
there's a lot of button
you know,
inputs. Um,
exactly. So that's going to be probably intense. But hey, it just goes to show that hey, Nintendo definitely put their money where their mouth is on that one because you don't. FromSoft doesn't do exclusive games like that.
no,
They don't. Yeah, they. I mean, who knows? I mean, I feel like exclusivities for the Birds at this point will probably just get it released in about 2 years for other systems to play. But Switch 2 is going to have the exclusivity of this new Souls like from Soft game, which is really exciting. And then yeah, Drag X Drive, which looks all right, and then Hyrule Warriors, which is just typically Dynasty Warriors hack and slash, kill all the
Yeah.
enemies. If you played one, you played them all. It doesn't matter which one you played. It's just Zelda. They have Fire Emblem ones. They have One Piece ones. They have. It's just you put a world in there. You hack and slash enemies, and you take over forts. It's very. If you played one, you played them all. Very exciting. People love the Hyrule Warriors games. So I guess that's really cool that they're bringing that back. I guess this is going to tie in with Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom.
Yeah.
And then yeah, we I guess we can touch on it as well. We talked about the Switch 2 edition games. So we're talking about Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. These are going to be launch title exclusives a lot. So they're really like to give us the launch games since there aren't any Switch 2 exclusive games coming out at launch besides Mario Kart World. They're giving a lot of our Switch 2 exclusive games coming, which we'll talk about prices in a moment, but this is where we're gonna get a lot of those titles. So Breath of the Wild, Tears of the Kingdom are getting a Switch 2 exclusive. Rune Factory, Sid 7 is gonna be a launch title. So I mean you get to take Sid with you.
Yep.
I think people who love Sid are gonna enjoy this, and then people who don't touch Sid are probably not gonna touch it. But that being said, if a lot of people buy the Switch 2, they might give it a try just so they can play something new. Shadow Labyrinth, Mario Party Jamboree as well, coming in July. Kirby and the Forgotten Land, Crossword, Metroid 4 Beyond, and Legends of Zelda are all games getting the Switch 2 treatment. Now, getting on to the next thing, it definitely looks like there's going to be backwards compatibility, so that's great to know. Just like if they weren't going to do backwards compatibility, I think a lot of people would be a little very miffed because backwards compatibility is a must in this day and age with the way exclusive games are working, where they come very few and far between. So that's really good. But you know they're gonna the Switch 2, like I said, game launch, game titles, game updates. They're giving us games at launch. I think this will definitely help move the needle. But I don't think these games are going to make someone want to buy a Switch 2 just because to play that specific game. Now, I will say Mario Kart's a great game, but I'm gonna be real. No one is playing Mario Kart unless they're playing with friends. I cannot tell you anyone who's going to sit at home and grind out Mario Kart by themselves. Now, they did mention there's going to be a lot of, they're going to really dive in a lot in the Nintendo Switch 2 online, which is really cool. We got GameCube games coming finally, so we know we're going to be getting our Coliseum
very excited when that announced.
Coliseum XD Gale, so that's very exciting for us. I think this is the first time, besides the Stadium and Stadium 2, that we're getting a Pokemon game coming to that, so really cool. Gonna be diving in. I'm a little worried about the prices of it because I feel like again it's gonna be in those things where there's subscriptions like PS Pluses, Xbox, Game Pass stuff. I think Nintendo,
they're not.
They're greedy. They're greedy. Yeah, they like to. You gotta pay. You're gonna dish out the bucks for it.
Those online subscriptions are not generally worth their value at all. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie.
They definitely gotta. Yeah, they're definitely going to get some of those in there for the XD Gales and Coliseums, but again, not too sold on the Switch 2 online expansion, GameCube stuff in general.
It does look like they're up-resing though, which is nice.
They're up-resing, which is good.
It's not just a straight port and giving us the wacky like graphics. They are up-resing because was it Wind Waker? That looked pretty good, and like up-res textures to 1080p. And they've doubled down on it as well because they've released another GameCube controller for the Switch.
Exactly.
So like they're all in on like this being a selling factor, which it will. It will.
Yeah, it will be. But like it kind of goes back to me for the thing is like I don't think for me as a consumer, if I have adult money, I have access to it, I will get the Switch 2 when I feel like it. Probably will pre-order it at some point because I do want it. That being said, I'm not getting the Switch 2 to play any of these games that are coming out. I'm not like buying the console to play these games. These games will be with the console and I will probably play them, but it's not like an esque where I'm like, I need a Switch 2 so I can play this game,
Yeah,
which
I
I
think
think is why we're going to be seeing the Switch 2 sales be again good. Like you said, the pre-orders are already selling out really quickly, which is always a good sign.
I don't know how much of
Um,
those are scalpers though, and I think the scalpers are going to
exactly.
be a bit
Yeah.
disappointed. Yeah, I think there's two boats. There's your boat,
Yeah.
which you're in with Rachel. You've got an OLED. Um,
Mhm.
there is little to no reason to upgrade at
Yeah.
the moment at this given price.
Yeah.
Me,
Same.
on the other hand, this is the improved battery
Yeah.
life version, but I bought this when Sword and Shield came out. Um,
Mhm.
this is dying a slow and painful death. My Switch.
Yeah.
So
No.
I made the decision when the OLED came out. It's like I am not buying this one. I am waiting for the Switch 2, and that is why I've had
Exactly.
the funds. And I think there will be a lot of people in my situation where we will be the ones buying it at launch, and then
Yeah.
you
Exactly.
guys will be buying the
Mhm.
upgraded version and making us feel really bad. I will probably invest in the OLED Switch 2 when it comes.
Yeah.
I think, like you say, you are correct that the improved battery life will come first. Then we will get an
Mhm.
OLED sometime in a year and a half, 2 years time, probably next
Yeah.
Christmas. Um,
I don't.
it's
I
not a
think we're
big
gonna get
upgrade
a.
to
We'll get an
implement.
OLED in about. Yeah, I will say I don't think we're gonna get that soon because we didn't get the OLED for about 5 years into the Switch life cycle,
Depends on the
and
backlash, I
Nintendo don't care.
guess.
Now, I guess the best thing and the most important thing that we're gonna talk about, and I think this is where I'm going to put on. I like to call it my Jake hat, where I get to be extremely negative for no reason whatsoever because I got to play devil's advocate here, even though it doesn't really affect me. But price point. So I will say 450 bucks USD, honestly, not a bad price. The console itself price, no problem with whatsoever. I think it's a fair price. I think it's less than a PS5 and Xbox Series X, which is fine because it's not still not as powerful, which is fine. And it's handheld, and I think it's cool. The price, the problem I have here, and again, I will say I'm not the reason, I'm not the consumer that's going to have a problem with this personally. Um, Nintendo has pulled the trigger, and I think this is going to give everyone the same route to follow. Nintendo is charging $80, 79 USD for digital versions of the Switch 2 games. I think that that is, personally speaking, too much money for a game. Um, as of where we stand, for the Switch 2S games. Now, if we're like talking like a GTA 6 with hundreds and hundreds and hours of content, I can understand the price point. But you are telling me that a family of four who's buying their kid a Switch 2 for Christmas is going to have the funds available um to be dropping $80 on a video game to play their one game, and that game is going to last them 20 hours, 30 hours max, even if they're teenagers. I'm not saying just little children. Um, I think it was bound to happen, and Nintendo pulled the trigger because Nintendo's always been the ones who set the market standard. They're never market followers, they're market starters. They've always been that way. Um, and I'm very, very disappointed that it's going to be that much. The fact that the physical copies are going to be an extra 20, so now it's $90 for a physical copy of a game, and the game itself isn't even on the cartridge. You're just
I was about to say,
buying,
you are paying
buying
$20 for a bit of
dollars.
plastic. It's
Yeah,
the
for a bit of
case
plastic.
and the cartridge.
Yeah,
And and
and
I
that's
mean,
ridiculous.
you could flip it on the side and say, well, you're always paying that for just the plastic and the cartridge, but that cartridge has the game on it. There's something psychological about that
Yeah,
has the game on it. But when you tell me
yeah,
that it's just a card key,
yeah.
and
No, I
because to me this opens the door to very big piracy issues
mm,
um
yeah.
on
It's gonna
on
it's
legitimate hardware because
yeah.
anyone could duplicate these game codes. Like
Mhm.
we're in the realm now of where average Joes can hack into big corporation systems, so that there will be give it 2 or 3 weeks. There will be a cartridge on eBay that has every single game in for about $150.
Yeah, no, they will be, and that's the problem with things. And it's just like I get it, I really do, because it was bound to happen. I knew it was bound to happen. I honestly won't be surprised when GTA 6 launches and it's not $100. I won't be surprised. I really won't. Because that's just the way the market's going to be going. It's unfortunate, and again, I'm not the person that's going to be bothered by it because I am a single adult. I have bills I pay, but I have money to spend as
Yeah.
well. If I want a game, I don't mind spending $80 on it. I'm okay if I get a 30-hour experience from a game. But I'm talking about from a consumer standpoint of where specifically the Switch itself is targeted towards, because it's Nintendo's more family things. And I know when I was a kid, and Jake, you know, when you were a kid, you mentioned it on the last episode, you get about 2 games a year.
Yeah.
And you get to pick your 2 games. So if you have a Switch, I'm assuming you're probably going to get your 2 games, but it's just like, to me, I'm very big. I'm not saying I need to have more hours to expand on the experience, but if I'm buying a game that's 10 hours and it costs me $80, I'm not going to be a happy camper. That better be the best damn 10 hours of my life. Like at that point, I need the game itself to like physically touch me. Like
Yeah.
it's like it's a lot of money for something where it's not like, even though I love Pokemon, like the idea of me spending $80 on a Pokemon game to then spend probably another 40 on DLC in the future for Generation 10.
That's the scary part.
It kind of rubs me the wrong way in the sense of like, I'm like, I know I'm gonna get my time out of the game because I love Pokemon. I'll probably put another 500 minimum to 1,000 plus maximum on the newest Generation 10 Pokemon game. But $180, 120 like for a total package for a Pokemon game, Pokemon's not like that in depth of a game. Like it's never been that. So I'm like, is it gonna like for me? Like if I'm paying $80 for an experience, I want good story. I want fucking graphics that work. I want I want content that I can come back to, replayability. Um, that's what I want from a game. And that being said, with Nintendo games in general, I think they have an issue not with the replayability thing. I think they've got that on lock. But minus your Breath of the Wilds and your Pokemons, most Nintendo IP games are short term experiences, or they are very multiplayer faceted with your Mario Karts, your Mario Parties, your Super Smash Bros, and stuff like that. Where I think it's gonna be a lot harder on the consumers and that cannot afford that and want to switch to. Because that's where everyone lost their shit. No one lost their shit because of the price of the console.
No.
Everyone lost their shit because of the price of the games. And they're valid. I mean, $80.
You make a really good point. You make a really good point here. So, like, it's that in my eyes, Nintendo must think that console is worth about $550 in real terms. And I could see that, like maybe around like the hardware that they've put in, maybe so they're recouping that cost via the games. Usually we have it the other way around, where your console is your big purchase, and then the games are kind of subsidized by $10 or $15. Because what was the PlayStation 5 in the US, Luke? Is it 700?
It was the PS5 Pro is $699.
$699. Okay,
The PS5 at launch, I believe, was 500,
500. Oh,
if
so
not more. I think it was 499.
So
don't quote me. It could be 6.
You can argue that
remember.
this Switch is on par with a base PS5. Like
I would pay. I bought a PS5 this summer. I spent $499 on it.
yeah,
Right, and this is the slim version of the PS5. I would have been fine if I wouldn't have no qualms with the Switch 2 cost at $500.
yeah. If the game, and
feel
then
like
they
I
could
would get this.
subsidize the games down to $60
Yeah,
because
but
they've price
they'll never
gouged
do that.
the extra $100 out of you. But no, they've been given the opportunity. You also raise a really good point as well that a lot of Nintendo based games are multiplayer, and that feeds the beast because when they are multiplayer, you've got to stay with your friend group. And if your friend group don't play that game anymore, I think we've all been victim of this, where someone
Mhm.
says, "Oh, get this game, we're going to play it," and then you play it 2 or 3 times, and then you never play it again because
Yeah.
we've moved on to another multiplayer game now that doesn't
Mhm.
like no one's playing anymore. So
Yeah.
Nintendo know what they're doing. We always knew they were very good with the money, and they know that their fan base
Mhm.
is loyal, and the money isn't really an aspect in terms of
Yeah.
things. But yeah, I think they're they're a bit out of touch with this one.
Yeah. To, yeah.
Like you said, the GTA's take 10 years of development, and I'm happy for when they've spent 10 years on a game, they need to recoup the costs that
Mhm.
have been implemented to make the game. So it's going to be more
Yeah.
expensive, but we're going to get a better game for it. When we're pumping out games almost like on a yearly basis, and the
Yeah.
content isn't there, you can't
Mhm.
like we're now at a point where a base game is what we were paying for figurines expansion packs,
Mhm.
coming with extra artwork, little stickers, like your whole like double deluxe editions are now going to be like 120, 130,
Yeah.
$140. And
And I
that
think
I
it
don't
just
think that's
boils.
on.
Yeah.
Don't think that's on.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think this is going to be the problem. I think we've talked about this so much previously, and this is very true in general in life. In general, the reason why companies get away with paying or with charging what they charge for things is because people still buy it, right? So the reason why Pokemon scalpers are still scalping is because people are paying the prices to open up those packs. They are paying the $200 for the ETB so they can have an ETB. They're paying the $1,000 for your PSA 10 Moonbryons. That's the reason why card prices are going up. And the reason why game prices are going up is because corporations like your Ubisoft, your EAs, your Nintendos, your first party games are like, I'm going to give you a game for $69.99 or for $70, and you're going to play the base game of this game. And you're like, man, I wish I had more content for this game. And then now they're going to charge you $100 for you to play it 10 days early. Or they're going to charge you $100 for the free DLC expansion pass. So you don't have to pay 40 for it when it all comes out all together. Now they're making a better deal when at the end of the day, they could have just charged you for it up front, but now they're going to get you earlier. And it's going to be the issue with everyone's okay with paying $70 for a game now because that's the market standard, because that's what people are willing to pay
Do
for their games.
do you
And I think,
think that this is a bit of
mhm,
rage bait and they're going to bring out a monthly subscription? I just had an
no,
inkling then when it was like when you were saying that, I was like, if they're gonna overprice games like this, the major reaction of the major consoles was to like, here's PS Plus, here's Game Pass. Like, we will feed you the games when we want to feed you the games. And
yeah,
you will get them. Well, you end up paying more. Everyone knows you end up paying more, but because you don't
yeah,
see that initial hit, it
mhm,
doesn't really matter. Like
yeah,
it's
yeah. No,
consumer
I definitely.
psychology.
So I will say that is going to be what Sony and Xbox box use to justify the prices of games. Nintendo will never do that because Nintendo's greedy and people will still pay the money for it. So why would they do that? Right?
I don't think they'd ever put like the main titles
They'll
on,
never
but
and they'll
like
they'll
all
never
these like
do it.
because I can't see people
Yeah.
paying like $70 for Sid on
No,
Switch 2.
no, and I think that's where you hear the rumors beforehand about people saying that Game Pass might come to the Switch at some point. That's why Xbox and Nintendo have had like this little partnership. So I think that could be a very real possibility that that does happen. We see like a Game Pass on the Switch too, because Steam is already sponsoring Xbox. Like, there's a lot of stuff going on where I think subscriptions are going to be a real part of the future. That being said, Nintendo will never do it for their games. You're not going to be being able to pay a $20 a month Nintendo subscription thing to play their brand new exclusives. They're never going to do that. They will never, ever, ever, and I mean, repeat, ever, 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 ever do that, because Nintendo is one of the only video game companies that stick to their guns, and it's only because they're Nintendo and they can get away with it, because people will
Yep.
still buy their consoles. People will still buy your Marios. People will still buy your Pokemons. People will still buy your Zeldas. They have a chokehold on the gaming industry with their exclusives, their characters, their IPs, their system, their technology. They've been, like I said, they are trendsetters. They are not trend followers. they set the standard and people follow suit. So Nintendo, since they never did that, they're not going to follow something that's not their original idea. Now they might get like a game, like I said, a Game Pass subscription for your Bloodborns, your Elden Rings, your Sids, your like third party exclusive games. I can definitely see them doing that. But there will never be a time where you see a Nintendo subscription so you can play the newest Mario game for $20 a month.
Yeah.
They'll never do that.
No.
So
The reason I
think
see it is because they have like they're in on the whole like main console now, because they also they announced WWE, NBA, Madden, FIFA, as we all whatever it's called now, FC Club or whatever.
Yeah.
They're in on the, like you said, the Game Pass games now, and they need to compete with Game Pass, unless they just get incorporated into Game Pass. So it's like you have EA games, and whether you have it on Xbox, PC, Switch, you can get Game Pass on the Switch for those games.
Yeah, and I will say one thing. For people who are worried about like a lot of the games, what I saw is a lot of the Switch 2 enhanced games that have already been released for the Switch 2, they are staying at the $69.99 mark. Like your Tears of the Kingdom, your Breath of the Wild enhanced are all started. They're still staying at that $70 mark, which is what we all paid for Breath of the Wild, anyways. I will say the one thing that Nintendo does do well is their third party games, they go on sale. That's what they follow like the market trend, like other games going on sale. Like you know, if Capcom's having a game, all their Capcom games are like 40-50% off, 60% off, whatever, because they're available on the Switch. It's just those Nintendo exclusive IPs that just don't go on sale, and if they do go on sale, the most you see them go down is like 10 to 20%. Which if you really want a game, you're probably just going to drop those $70. Like I hate to say that I am the part of the problem, because you could literally wave Generation 10
pays. Anyone that puts money in it is the problem.
Yeah, I was like, I'll be the first one to admit I'm the problem. Like I will pay $80, no questions asked, for Pokemon Generation 10. You could charge me $100 to play Pokemon Gen 10, and I will probably complain about it, but I'm still paying the $100. You know, that's what I'm doing. So
yeah,
that's the biggest thing.
It's good. There always has to be downsides to things. I have never been as excited. Sorry, I just punched the mic. I've never been that excited while watching like an announcement video at so many parts of the whole stream.
Yeah,
I was blown away when they did the 120 FPS announcement. I was blown away that they actually put Colosseum and Gale XD. Like, I instantly messaged Jack, my friend, because he has an original copy of Gale of Darkness, and I said, you might want to sell that sometime soon, because once it comes on Virtual Console, it's kind of gone. It does make me think: are we going to get maybe DS games at some point? But I suppose GameCube would be kind of left behind, and everyone still kind of has a DS. I mean, I just went out and bought a new 3DS. And then you have all of the other games as well. I remember seeing Cyberpunk. I was like, I haven't played Cyberpunk yet, so why not invest on it on the Switch too? Hogwarts Legacy was a very, very, very good game that I enjoyed on PlayStation. I would definitely play it again. I'm just scrolling down here. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Our brand new game that hasn't even been released yet, coming to the Switch too.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's just exciting. Like it's a good system, and people.
What I should ask is, are there any of the bonus new features of the console that you actually see yourself using? I don't. That's my only gripe.
Like the chat stuff, all that fun, like fancy stuff that they've added. It's a cool thing, and Nintendo's always been. Well, it's kind of, I think a lot of the stuff comes down to like it's kind of like Nintendo with the Switch when they announced Labo. Remember Labo, the weird like cardboard thing that like was a thing. Like that's like I feel like a lot of that stuff is just gimmicky Nintendo stuff, which I think is we'll see one time like, oh, that's really cool, but like we'll never use. It's kind of like the PS5 controller with the speaker in it and the little touchpad where you can slice and do things. Like that's cool. I don't care. Like, I'm not using it like frequently, you know. So, I mean, that's cool. I like the chat feature. I like how they're going more online with it. I think that's going to be that's cool. That's the first time Nintendo's really done that. But yeah, none of the new features really spoke out to me. I'm just excited for a new console that's going to come out. And I will say, before we wrap everything up, we talk about the Switch. I've been screwed. I'm screwed by the Switch too. It's not Nintendo's fault. The U.S. tariffs have hit
Yeah.
officially. The Switch 2 pre-orders were originally going to be coming out on April 9th. They have been delayed indefinitely while Nintendo figures out what they're going to do, which honestly, what's going to end up happening is they're going to still have it, but the prices are going to go up in the US because of tariffs, which is, to be expected. So
Hopefully, Luke,
that's a little
they
that's a
announce
little
it
unfortunate.
before I can keep my pre-order, and then it might be cheaper for me to buy you one and ship it you than
I That's true. It very much will be, but then I'll have an Australian Switch,
it doesn't
which
matter.
actually
Switches aren't region locked.
we'll see because we'll see what the shipping fee is. It
Yeah,
might cost
I
it might
am
cost you
because
$100 to
I'm
send this
trying to think
bad
of the
boy.
next time I'm in the UK. Maybe I could send it to Nick, and then Nick could send it to you.
Which still might rotate to about $100 service fee, which probably is going to be what will
The
end up
same of
being
what
the
you're gonna
extra
get.
price.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, if I don't get it and it's like ridiculous, like we're talking extra $200, and okay, we'll do that. But yeah, that happened, which kind of put a little damper on things, which politics, tariffs, that's not for this podcast. But yeah, for US people, it's a little frustrating because yeah, we thought we were gonna be able to put our pre-orders in. And now we have to wait to figure out things out. And this console's coming out in like 3 months. So I don't think they're gonna delay the console for the United States. I think they're still
I
going to
think
release
I
it. I
think I
just
saw
think
an
they're just
announcement that the release is still
the plan.
um
Yeah, but and I think at first when I so the thing is that also is kind of not necessarily scaring me because I don't think it'll be an issue because everything's digital now. But at first, a lot of people were thinking, "Oh, it's because of the tariffs why the games are like a little bit more," which is not the case. It's just the market standard,
no,
unfortunately.
it's the same
Because
for everyone.
yeah, it's not a digital thing. Like they're not gonna like you can't put tariffs on a digital game. It's not physically being shipped. It's just the consoles and like goods that'll be affected. It's not going to be digital stuff like that will be affected by anything. But yeah, I mean, I think ultimately what the Switch 2 has done is they've given us a great console that I think is people are like it's going to be the Wii U. It's not going to be the Wii U, guys. I mean, where I know we're all frustrated, the games are going to be $80, but the game it's then the Switch 2 will be successful. I think it will take a while for it to reach the Switch's heights because I think the Switch also had not a rocky start, but it definitely had a
It
slower
was a
start
slow
because
burner. It was definitely a slow
yeah, I
burner.
mean, you had Breath of the Wild, and then about after, like most consoles, like most home consoles, I always say this to people who do not have disposable income, like some people. Wait a year and see what's out for the system, right? Because you got after, we'll probably get uh, a Pokemon remake coming to Switch 2. We'll probably be getting a Mario game coming to Switch 2. We're probably going to get more of those exclusives type games coming within in I guess year two of the Switch 2.
Plus, you
Kind of
get
weird.
special editions. People like the
Exactly.
fancy
So
dancy colours and the little artwork on the back, so I'm impartial to it. I'm impartial to it because it sits in its dock and it never moves. But
yes,
you do you, boo.
you do you. It's very fair. This is a very fair. But I think just yeah. Me personally, like if you asked me this question when I was 23, I'd probably say I'm gonna wait a year because that's what I did with the Switch. I waited. Well, no, I was bad. I didn't wait a year. I think I waited 6 months. I think I walked into the GameStop and said, I got money.
No,
Why
but
not?"
back then you could. I remember I bought my Switch on
Yeah,
a whim. Like I just walked into
yeah,
the game
same.
store and I was dry. I was on a train ride down to London to meet my friend
Uh-huh.
Craig, and
Yeah.
I was like, I just walked in. I had some time to kill. I walked in. I bought a Switch and Pokemon Sword, and
Yeah.
you could do that. Now you
Yeah, you
can't.
could.
Like I can't say that
No.
I can't. You can't guarantee it in a year's time that you're gonna see stock on the shelves in Walmart or your local game store. That like
Yeah, you won't.
you can't. You can't. I suppose it's not like cards and it's not like games because we see bed loads of PS5s and Xboxes just
Mhm.
around because once the good thing about consoles is that when you get one, you never really need another one until later on, unless it goes kaput. But
Mhm.
I don't see in this like era of gaming anything being widely available for the next year and a half. Because the people that miss out on this initial pre-order then have to wait 6 months, and then the scalpers come back in again because they know that demand is still high. And then after that, it's another 6 months, and it's like, okay, right, we're coming up to well, especially in 6 months' time because it's Christmas, and the scalpers have a field day because parents need to buy the new console for the children, and the only time they can see it is on eBay at like double. Well, it's usually a couple of hundred over. So what if it's at now at like 450? It'll be at 650,
Yeah,
and they'll
exactly.
buy
Yeah,
it.
yeah, I was just looking at an old photo of when I bought my Switch. So yeah, I bought it in 2017, so it was about 6 months after the original Switch came out. I remember I bought it like a week after before I went up to visit go up to Connecticut with my best friend. But yeah, no, yeah, like we said, I think the Switch 2, Switch in general is going to be fine. We'll see how popular it is. We'll see what the demand is for the Switch. I don't think a supply and demand thing will be an issue because I think Nintendo is very well aware that the one thing that I will give Nintendo is they have their games. I have never once, except for COVID, when COVID first started, not been able to go into a store and get a Nintendo product.
That's true.
Besides
That is
COVID.
true.
That's besides COVID. COVID is the only time because I remember all the Switches were sold out because everyone bought a Switch and their mother because the COVID happened.
Yep.
I was lucky. I got my roommate at the time as his Switch too. I walked into a retro video game store and they had this a Switch bundled with Breath of the Wild, and I said, "You only got one left?" Yeah, and I called my roommate. I was like, "They got one. You want it now?" And he's like, "Yes." And I was like,
I
"Send me
remember
the
having
money."
alerts
And
on
I,
my phone ready because
yeah,
Rachel wanted to Switch because she was playing Animal Crossing on my
hmm
Switch. But she didn't just
yeah.
want any Switch; she wanted the Animal
You wanted
Crossing
the
one.
Animal Crossing Switch,
Oh
yeah.
my god! I remember the
Yes.
stock hit, and I'd have my alerts would
Mhm.
ping. It would go like, "Oh, they've all restocked," and you'd just be spamming buttons everywhere.
Yeah,
Uh, we eventually got one. We had to drive 20 miles to get it, which isn't a lot in America. I know that, but in the
yeah,
UK, it is.
yeah. Yeah, 20 miles for y'all is, like a trip and a half. It's a day trip. For me, it's a trip to work. But, guys, I think, to wrap it all up in the nicest bundle, um, Jake's already said he's pre-ordered it. I will probably get it within the time it releases. If not, I might wait until Nintendo forces me to get it with a Pokemon game. We'll see if I'm feeling froggy, if I'm still happy with my OLED. But yeah, I think overall Switch 2 was a great exclusive. Nintendo hit it out of the park, like we said, and I think it's going to be a fun year. I think we're going to have a lot of fun topics to talk about here on the Dual Hemisphere Hangout when it comes to the Switch 2. I know we'll definitely have a podcast for sure when Jake gets his hands on it,
Yes.
because he will literally have it. So we might do a little review on his takeaways and stuff like that. But yeah, guys, I think that does us for today. I know we've talked for over an hour about the Switch 2. So guys, obviously, thank you guys so much for your support. It's April, y'all. So we're getting there. We're about to hit the half year mark here soon, and
Makes me feel sick.
I know, right? And I think fun thing that you guys have something to look forward to, guys, is sometime next month where it's been officially about a year since me and Jake have moved to our respective homes. So we definitely will be doing a year recap of our lives of Australia and Florida. So look forward to that. It'll be a lot of fun. I'm
Oh
excited for
god.
that one. That's gonna be a fun one. But guys, that's it for us today. I've been Luke. That's been Jake. We will see you guys next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.